And to talk about Restart, we have Una and Cecilia from Better Living Projects. So give them a big round of applause.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you for making your way to this early morning Friday inspirational talk. So we're Better Living Projects. We're a social enterprise that was started in 2016. And our goal is to create impact in a local community in India, where we're about to generate work, income generating opportunities and provide work for women. So by 2023, our goal is to give access to work for 30 women. So we're here to tell you a little bit about the process and how we got to where we are today. This is the first day of the training and the inauguration of the sewing center in Budgaya. I'm sure a lot of you have seen these 17 goals before. I see them almost daily. That might be because of the work that I do, but I also think that it's because of the change that's happening in our society today. There's a change in mentality. We know that the future is something that we need to safeguard, and we know that we need to protect the environment, and we need to ensure that the planet is a good place to inhabit for future generations. And one of the crucial aspects is gender equality, which is what we do. And I feel like that's one of the goals that are not as much talked about as many of the others. Is of crucial importance to us. And why is that? In my opinion, gender equality leads to a more prosperous world. And in achieving gender equality and empower all women and girls is crucial in order for us to have a resilient world economy in the future. So just to give you an idea of how much it costs us every year on the exclusion of women from the workforce costs the world economy vast amounts each and every year. When I got to know about this number, I was really shocked. So I'll show you the next slide. It's 28 trillion US dollars. That's what we lose each and every year of not including women into the workforce. That's more than the US and China's economies combined. It's quite a lot. And so that's a global problem that we're trying to address. Just to give you an idea, because this number is too abstract to even comprehend. It's enough essentially to purchase Apple 28 times. That's how much we lose each and every year on not including women in the workforce. And in places like Bihar in India, where we work, the amount of women that does not have access to work amounts to 80%. It's quite a lot. So, for example, to give you another idea, in Norway, growing up, I was told that it's due to the oil that we have the resources that we have, and that we have this huge amount of GDP growth each and every year, especially since about 1972. But the oil is not the whole answer. A lot can be attributed to women's empowerment and women's entrance into the workforce. For example, since 1942, we've earned 3,300 billion kroners due to the fact that women entered the workforce. And there's still a lot to be done, because there's more women working part-time than there are men. So that costs us vast amounts of money each and every year as well. So gender equality leads to a more prosperous world. This graph is a good depiction of that, because 90% of women, when they work, they reinvest that back into their families and their local communities. That's compared to 35% of men. So then that leads me over to where we are today. Like, what made these two men care about gender equality? And well, the short answer is that we're part of the 35%. The bigger answer is that Pankaj, one of a close friend of mine and one of the most inspirational men that I've ever met in my entire life, he started his own village community organization when he was 16. He grew up in a village in India called Sujata, which is in the northeast of India in the state of Bihar. And he started a local trust to give access to promote educational initiatives for Dalit children and to promote women's empowerment initiatives. And I got really inspired and drawn into the work that he was doing because I had a background from development myself, and I had been traveling in India for quite some time, and I wanted to create an impact somehow. I just didn't know how. But this man, he steered me into the right answer, so to speak, on how we could generate impact. And what he told me is that he was looking for someone that could help him open the markets to Scandinavian or European or Western markets that could influence and generate impact for the women in that community, because Pankaj and his friend Pooja have been given training for up to 90 women in textile production between 2010 and 2014. So Pankaj, he introduced me to his the culture in the community. He, as I said, I'm not a morning person, but Pankaj, he certainly is. He had to wake up every morning at 4 a.m. to learn English himself because they didn't teach him well enough in school. And he did that for a number of years. That's how disciplined he is. And due to the fact that he did that, we were able to communicate really well and to be able to develop something for his community. So he would come by my guest house and wake me up really early in the morning, pretty much every morning for the whole month while I was there, to show me, for example, the vegetable market, where most of the things that are happening in the morning. There's a lot of people trade their vegetables there in the morning. Yeah, he would wake me up so that we could continue working on a project proposal. Because I spent a month there, and we developed a project proposal on something that I later showed to Cecilia. I got to Norway back in 2016, in March 2016, and I presented a project proposal that Pankaj and I had been developing together. Through that project proposal, Cecilia and I, after quite some time, we decided that we're going to work on generating income and provide work for women in this local community through a focus on trade and not aid. And why would we focus on trade? Because it's more sustainable and it's more equitable than aid is. Aid is usually, it generates a sort of the dependency, whereas trade can actually generate a lasting impact. We also wanted to build a bridge between two different cultures. We wanted to build a bridge between Norway and India, and so that we could create a common learning platform. And through focusing on trade, we could give end consumers and businesses in Norway an opportunity to promote impact for the women in India through the products that we make. And my dear friend and Cecilia, she will take you through the details on how we do that.
So a little bit about the context that we're working in. We're working in Bihar, as Rune just told you. It's one of the poorest states in India. 80% of the women in the areas that we're working on doesn't have a job. Or they don't have a stable income at least. They might work for a few weeks or a few months during the year, but it's not stable enough to actually make a reliable income. So there is an urgent need for work opportunities in these areas. But let's stop for a moment and think a little bit more about the word need. Because if there were jobs in these areas, then would they actually apply? Because the answer is more complicated than that. In these areas, the women have so much responsibilities in the household. They are the caretakers of their families, of their children, and most of these jobs are quite far away from the village. And so by traveling far, it takes a lot of time. And also, these areas might not be so safe after dark. So, would the families support them if they actually got a job? The families understand the importance of a new income, but they don't really take over the chores that the women have in the household. The husband, he could take care of the children for a few hours or maybe a few days even, but he wouldn't take over the chores of the responsibility of the children for years, for example. So does she then have time to work? So in these areas, when women get married, they have to move into their husband's home. So you move into a husband's home, normally in another village. You moved away from your friends, from your family, from your network. And of course you want to make a good impact in this new family. And you're expected to be good and do what you're told, right? And they're told to do the housework, to cook the food. And maybe if you're doing really well, you give birth to a baby boy very quickly. And so would you then go up to your parent-in-laws and ask, can I get a job? You wouldn't really do that. And so, does she want a job? Well, no one really asks. So that's where we came into the picture. We want to create job opportunities tailored to the women's needs in this area. So the first thing we had to do, if we wanted to do that, was to ask the women themselves. What do you need to come to work every single day? And the first thing they said was the travel distance, right? If it's far away, then we can't go. And so what we did was we built a sewing center in the middle of their village. They also said, we don't have so much time. So a full workday might be difficult for us. So we said, okay, we'll have 6 hours work days. They also said, we want 1 hour lunch break because some of them has very small children. And so they wanted to go home to their babies in the break. And we said, fine. And we also provide hot lunch so that they don't have to spend extra time cooking in the home. So I want you to get to know one of our seamstresses, Rupa. She's 23 years old and she is the best seamstress we have. She is the one that is finishing the bags, putting the pieces together, and quality checks the bags. She took the responsibility to learn how to sew herself because she saw that after college she might not get a job easily. So she taught herself how to sew, and she wanted to generate an income for herself so that she didn't have to move to her husband without some money in her pockets. So I'm going to show you a little short video about some of the things that she said.
बचपन में तो मैं मिडिल स्कूल में पढ़ी, फिर उसके बाद है फिर 9 से बोध गया पढ़ी, फिर कॉलेज में 9वीं एडमिशन करवाई। तो कॉलेज में जब इंटर का परीक्षा देने लगे तो उस समय पापा भैया के पास नहीं था पैसा, तो मैं सेंटर उस समय सिलाई सीखने जाते थे। तो हम बोली मैडम लोग की ज्वाइन ले लो, तो ले लिए। तो फिर उस समय फार्म भरने का वक्त आया तो उन लोग के पास नहीं पैसा था, तो फिर उस समय पापा पैसा दिए। फिर उसके बाद हम अपना खुद कमाए लगे, खुद पढ़ने लगे, ग्रेजुएशन किए, उसके बाद हम नहीं पढ़े रहे। फिर अभी तो हम पेंट सीख रहे थे, उसके बाद ही इस दौरान ट्रेनिंग दिए 10 दिन। उसके बाद मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि मेरा मैरिज हो गया है, मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि मैं जहाँ जाऊँ जहाँ खुद का मतलब पैर पर खड़ा हो जाऊँ और मैं भी सीखूँ और लोग को भी सिखाऊँ, उन लोग का भी मतलब आगे बढ़ने का सीख। बस इतना ही मैं कहना चाहता हूँ।
So you feel the sense of insecurity in her voice because she's barely met her husband. He's actually living in Mumbai, and he might move back, he might not. So what she wants is that if he comes back and she has to move to his village, at least she has some money to bring. One thing I heard from the women again and again was that I hate asking for money. Of course I do. When my husband says no, I get angry. I get sad. And that makes sense. Another thing, this interview is 40 minutes long. I wish I could show you the whole interview, of course. And I wanted to tell you one other thing that she said. A job as a seamstress for me means that I'm able to realize my dream. And for her, that actually means that she can teach other women how to sew so that they can generate their own income. And those women can teach other women how to sew so that they can also generate their income. And that's how the effect can spread and change can happen. So what we did was 2 months ago, we went down to India after doing the fundraising, and we started training of 10 women. We wanted to make something that was easy for the women to make, but at the same time, we were able to sell it here in Norway. So we start with ethical tote bags, which is produced by Norwegian designers, so that it's appropriate for the Norwegian market. We also needed to find someone that was more technically qualified than ourselves, so we brought in a freelance, Beate Godagi. She has more than 15 years of experience within the textile industry. She has worked for designers like Vivienne Westwood. She's worked for Holzweiler. She's also had her own successful brand, or has. And her responsibility was to teach the trainer in India so that the trainer could train the others. Because we wanted this to be sustainable, so after we leave, they are able to continue this. So we the trainer in India is an inspirational, strong woman called Pooja, which is the only woman in the city that actually has a tailoring shop in the city center. So we found a very inspirational teacher. So we trained 10 women to make this bag. We were only able to hire 6 of them for now, because we need more sales before we can hire more. Of course, we also experience some challenges because we are here, they are there, and the cultures is very different. So I want to take you through one thing, which happened last week, which was we left India 2 weeks ago, and we decided the roles of each woman who were going to do what together. And then we get a picture from the sewing center, and we suddenly see that the cutter is now sitting and sewing buttonholes for the bags. And we're saying, why is Sulika, the cutter, why is she making buttonholes? And so we call them and we're like, what's happening? And they say, well, she had a bit of time left. So we just put her there because it was more convenient, it was practical. And we say, but this might not be appropriate for the Norwegian market because the quality of the buttonholes might not be the standard that we want. But they are so independent and in their thinking that they're always trying to make up the best way themselves. So that's one example of how, of course, these challenges always happen, but we learn, and that's also how we grow together. I'm sure that if some of you run your own business, you feel familiar with this. So in the middle is Pooja during the training. So our overall goal for the next 5 years is to create work for 30 women in this village. We want them to become financially independent and be able to control their own income. We want them to have increased self-confidence, which don't only mean that they have a stronger voice in their household, but also in the community. We also want them to have an improved quality of life, that they can afford to buy the medicine and healthy food that they need. So, do you want to see the product? So, this is the bag that we are selling to businesses here in Norway. So it is a strong and robust organic cotton, and it lasts for almost 4 generations if you take care of it well. Yeah? It also has an inner pocket where you can put your keys or your wallet. So if you either run a business or you know anyone that runs a business or you work for a business, you can get in touch with us afterwards, and we'd love to talk more about this back. Yeah, you can also put the logo on the front, obviously. Yeah. Thank you.